Okay, moving forward, here are a few words on why universities and colleges are critical enablers of change, especially climate action, which is very critical because the governments are struggling between all the priorities and perturbations they have, wars and pandemics and so on. Universities and colleges are critical enablers of change. Universities and colleges can drive systematic change in climate change mitigation and adaptation through multiple pathways. As we'll see here in figure 4, the institutions of higher education have 5 key modalities of action: teaching, research, providing service and building partnerships with the wider community, enabling platforms for public debate and deliberations, and finally managing their own campus operations. This idea of deliberations and debates always run into trouble when the topics become too hot, political hot potatoes and controversial, and you have seen the big battle in the US after the Hamas-Israel conflict started about presidents having to resign, and because of the way they spoke about campus protests and statements by students and so on and so forth. So climate change also tends to be controversial in many ways, so you have to be careful. We assume that academia is always a place for completely open debate, but always you have reality crashing into ideals. Each of these core functions lead to multiple pathways of influencing and transforming socioeconomic systems. By successfully leveraging their core strengths and using their ability to live test innovations at scale, universities and colleges can become instruments of change and leadership. It's this potential that makes the role of universities and colleges in addressing climate change especially important and unique. So we must own up to this role and act on it. So this is a figure 4 we cited, a framework that explains how universities can enable systematic change in climate change mitigation and adaptation. So it's modified from a paper cited here. So you're looking at university, bridging actors, society and ecosphere. So kind of what we were discussing in sustainability, what we are discussing in sustainability in terms of action arenas, partners, participants, rules, biophysical conditions, etc., etc. So universities are of course there for education, knowledge production, but also service delivery, public debate and campus operations. Bridging actors, you have graduates who go out and live in the real world and can bridge back. Organizations in many ways could be sororities, fraternities, corporations and other kinds of student bodies, local community organizations connected to the universities, so communities. And society, of course, is larger economic, political, and cultural spheres, and the ecosphere is where we are worrying about climate change. So in this axis we have education, which go in each direction here. I will read it just because these are important points. So in education, students learn about climate change and engage in broad learning, and graduates apply their knowledge to workplaces. Alumni and students influence society, leading to change in societal causes of climate change. This goes on here very actively with rich alumni coming back and paying and wanting to do things. This leads to impacts on climate change mitigation and adaptation. Okay, nice. Knowledge production. Universities lead to research in climate science and develop products and technologies to address climate change. So every campus now is busy, especially technology campuses, with innovations in batteries, in EVs, in charging stations, in early warning systems for food, water, health, energy, transportation, buildings, building technologies, and so on and so forth. University-led research informs society and organizations, leading to impact on climate change mitigation and adaptation. A lot of academic research tends to be blue sky and not have immediate impact, but can academics move towards making more impactful research by just reorienting their research to be more problem focused and based on bigger teams, connected research topics and so on, instead of going off on little individual topics just for the sake of publication, because the system does reward publications a lot right now. Service delivery. Universities provide evidence-based research and advice to institutions and communities, and these organizations develop policies or enact measures to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So that's actors, society, and ecosphere. So you can see that here we covered each one individually, then we started merging. Public debate. Universities engage in advocacy, campaigns, mobilization, and provide safe spaces for public debate. Safe spaces for public debate is now often itself under debate, under threat, some would say, but let's leave that there. Universities influence government policies and public opinion, leading to impact on climate change mitigation and adaptation. So students don't need to just protest, they can also do research and communicate on climate mitigation and adaptation solutions. Campus operations. Universities alter their own institutional functioning, leading to impacts on climate change mitigation and adaptation, and universities can explore innovations and serve as the testing ground for solutions that can be adopted in the greater community if successful. So we ourselves are a little community with people living on campus, driving in, driving out, food, water, energy, health, buildings, mobility. So obviously we have to be part of the solution, and that's where net zero comes in. So the net zero journey with principles to consider at each stage of the journey. Then make a net zero commitment or pledge with hopefully timelines and monitoring and evaluation. Assess and organize. Complete a greenhouse gas emissions inventory with all emissions counted. Glad to say that a historical accounting is done on the campus with a student, Yash Javeri, I want to say, and advisors Vikram Vishal, Arnav Datta, and I'm involved because I'm the one who said let's do this. Organize leadership and resources. Plan and strategize. Design a net zero plan. Understand the benefits and challenges. Set clearly defined milestones and targets. So monitoring and evaluation. We'll look at benefits and challenges along the way for each of these categories. Implement and innovate. Implement on campus initiatives. You can do emissions counting and reduction. You can do carbon sequestration. You can do water savings, emissions reductions through all the sectors as well. Innovate and amplify change. Explore innovative financing for net zero initiatives. So how would you do it, and how would the communities in general, local governments and subnational, national governments learn from you about financing net zero initiatives? You have to lead there by example as well. Monitor and evaluate, always critical. Monitor and evaluate and learn from net zero initiatives. Okay, so each item we will look at, and as you can see here, each one comes with options, hyperlinks with additional resources, or here click here to sign up to the UNFCCC Race to Zero for universities and institutions of higher education. So this can be done as a community here, and that's why I'm recording these podcasts, to use them as motivators for the faculty, students, and staff here, and the administrators and alumni community around, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's come back and continue each of the items. This is a bit short, so that's okay. We'll leave it here, but remember that we are basically trying to understand the importance of net zero on campus and the role campuses can play in amplifying the findings, driving innovations, connecting with the communities, and helping governments, and in the end humanity, right? Okay, so let's meet in the next podcast.